Alright, so, last time, we got transported to the digital world, met a hobbit and our partner Digimon, made some friends, mostly through violence, got shot by Dr. Centaur, evolved our baby dinosaur into a big dinosaur, destroyed the economy with chainsaws, evolved our big dinosaur into an even bigger dinosaur with big metal components that probably rotted its skin, visited the Resident Evil mansion, and fighting many, many battles along the way. Capping things off with a nice little nap. Where will our adventure take us next? Well, only one way to find out. Also, since the last video, more cards have been released which reference the game, so I'll be trying to make up for that when I can. Play the intro! To begin, we head inside Monochro Shop. He tells us about his troubles running the shop, and asks us to work a full shift for him for a bit of pay. Being the good guys that we are, we agree to help him out. It is at this point that I'm glad that I saved before entering this shop. The reason being is that it took me over an hour to beat this minigame. 8 in-game hours is enough an investment for one attempt. But having to do it the 8 or 9 times I had to in order to finish it, that would be about 3 days wasted. Why did it take so long? Well, let's first go over how this minigame works. There are 3 items you get to sell: meat, portable potty, and medicine. Each customer will ask for one of those 3 items at random. You can choose to sell at market price, lower the price, or increase the price. Selecting any of these options causes a little emoticon to pop up above the customer. In retrospect, I don't think this actually affects anything, but I still tried to make them happy. Now you might think selling at a lower price would be the way to go, however the main goal is to make over 3,000 bits by the end of your shift. And while selling medicine will help you reach that goal pretty fast, they rarely ever ask for it compared to the other items. So you need to keep asking for higher prices every time. But if you're not careful, you can tick them off and they'll leave without buying anything. And for some reason, that makes you lose the next customer as well. Even then, if they look satisfied with the price, they might still leave. Also, there are 4 different customers with different buying personalities. Gobblemon is a big idiot and will buy at pretty much any price. Yatsumon's also pretty easy to deal with so long as you don't raise the price too high. Uchimon appeared pretty infrequently but was pretty easy to deal with as long as you haggle a little. Weedmon is a... Oh, sorry about that, leaned on something. But yeah, no, Weedmon's a jerk. He's very stingy, very difficult to deal with, and he'll usually only be satisfied if you lower the prices. And I'm sure he'll still leave if you lower the prices. So yeah, it's pretty much a big RNG fest. Halfway through the shift, you'll get a progress report, and you want to have about 1,500 bits by then. If you're at under 1,000 bits, at that point it's probably best to just reset. But in order to pass, you pretty much need to sell a couple medicine. The other items just aren't enough to hit that 3k goal. I think it's this mini game that taught me at an early age to give the people behind the counter a bit of a break. After much trial and error, we managed to hit 3,400 bits, which is more than enough need to complete this minigame. After a day of many successful sales, Monochro decides to shut down the shop and move over to the city. There he works in the item shop with a bunch of other Digimon that we recruited. Heading back to the city, we find a rain plant fruit next to Tanimon. The plant sprouts fruit every 15th day. Tanimon also tells us of a strange plant in the tropical jungle. Putting 2 and 2 together, we decide to take the fruit over to that strange plant, but not before sending Mojya on a little treasure hunt. Using the fruit on the strange plant, Vegemon pops out of the ground. After a bit of banter about vegetables and nice guys, he decides to join the city, where he takes over the farm for Palmon and Tanimon, serving us sirloins. Heading to the Great Canyon area, we take the elevator to the top and rest for a save, as once we approach a nest, we start a fight with Birdramon. While normally this would be a bit of a challenging fight, it kinda just flies in place. Not entirely sure why, but that made things pretty easy for me to launch some missiles into it. After mentioning how good we are at taking pot shots off of them, Birdramon hints that there may have been other humans here before us. But before we can dwell on it, the bird dragon questions if we're going to ask them to join the city. After we do, we're flown back to the city where it sets up a transportation station. Cherrymon tells us of some bandits that are roaming around the Great Canyon area, so we decide to go investigate. Once there, we're beset by a pair of Agumon and their boss, Ogremon. Despite being 3-on-1, the fight actually isn't too hard, mostly because AoE attacks hit all Digimon caught in the blast. So the big dumb ogre keeps hitting his own minions with his rock blasts, in addition to Zero's own metal attack hitting everybody. After beating the Agumon, Ogremon goes down without too much trouble. Once beaten, they retreat to their hideout. Chasing after them, we head to the same elevator from earlier, but take it down this time. Following the path around, we manage to find their fortress. After scaring away the guard, we make our way inside. Before confronting Ogremon, Zero decides to share his feelings on him. The rematch pretty much goes just like the last fight. A little bit of AoE, a little bit of chest missiles, you know how it is. After his second defeat, Ogremon uses a smoke ball to escape via an elevator. We follow him up the elevator, but as we're chasing him, we're stopped when someone starts calling for help. As it turned out, riding that elevator caused the machinery to move the earth around, resulting in a Digimon getting stuck. We decide to halt our chase for now, take the elevator back down, and go the long way back around. On the way, getting a small glimpse of the next area, Freezeland. Riding the elevator back down, frees Shellmon, who decides to bring her news reporting to the city. Checking the news periodically gives us updates on some of the happenstances around the island, as well as gives us hints on some recruitable Digimon. Alright, now I think it's time to talk about the arena. In short, Greymon runs a tournament bracket, with each tournament having its own set of rules, and sometimes restrictions. They are listed up to 5 days in advance, and you can pre-register for a few of them. We sign up for one of the low-ranking ones, kill some time with some training, and then come back at about 10 for the tournament. The fights play out similarly to all other battles, except you get some more dynamic camera angles, and there's a timer. Also, you can't use items, so if you didn't train very well, you're probably not going to have a good time. Because we brought a Cyber Dino to a rookie tournament, we win pretty easily. Winning nets us some pretty good prize money and a double floppy, both of which we don't really need when we have an infinite cash supply. Because of the chainsaws! It's time to head through the misty trees where we finally meet Cherrymon. Oh wow, you're hideous. Glad you grew out that mustache. He mentions how 80 years ago, the northeastern parts of the island suddenly appeared, which for some reason caused the Digimon to kinda lose their memory and way of speaking, eventually migrating from the city. He says he has something important to tell us, but he can't remember it either, because he's also starting to lose his memory. However, he says that a miracle will occur if we're able to unify the city once again. After he finally lifts the fog, we make our way through the forest and into a toy town. Huh. The town is mostly empty, however in one of the houses we managed to find a giant teddy bear costume. Zero, wanting to be like his hero Barney the dinosaur, attempts to put on the costume. However, since he's a giant, mechanical, muscle-bound dinosaur, he has some trouble fitting in. Unfortunately, none of the residents want to talk to us, so there's not much we can do at this point. So we warp back to the city, fly to the canyon, and head straight for the Freezelands. We still have an ogre to chase after all. Much of the Freezeland is in these tightly packed areas with the cameras zoomed in really close, so it's hard to navigate without getting into a fight, as well as getting lost in all the chaos. Once we make it to the ice, we come across a Waymon. He tells us that some mean guys kicked him out of his secret beach cave, and he wants us to kick them out. Happy to oblige, we hop on his back and he takes us straight to the bad guys. As you might have guessed, it's Ogremon causing more trouble for everyone. However, this time he's gotten a new bodyguard in Cherrymon, our first ultimate level challenge. Naturally, this fight is a bit more challenging than the other two Ogremon fights. Ogremon and Cherrymon keep throwing out AoE attacks. Meanwhile, the Gabumon kind of just panics.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
But thanks to friendly fire, Cherrymon takes out both its allies. They are so getting fired. The fight becomes much more manageable after this. Ogremon tries to escape, but Waymon manages to stop him. We then try to recruit him so he can pay for his sins. Or not. However, Waymon does offer us his treasure, as well as to join the city. After exploring a bit more of Freezeland, we managed to come across Penguinmon, who runs a curling game. The first match is free, but any subsequent ones require you to pay him a fish. However, if we win, he'll join the city. Now, this minigame can be about as frustrating as the Monochro Shop one. You need to line up your shot, set the power of it, and hope it lands in one of the good spaces so you can get extra points. But Penguinmon has never lost a match and knows how to knock our pieces around. So expect this one to take a very, very long time to come. Oh hey, I got on my first try. As promised, he joins the city and opens up a curling rink alongside the arena. Near the curling arena is one of the 3 Mojamon that live in the area. Each one has a set of items they want to exchange, but I only have so much inventory space, so I don't have anything that they need. Further into the Freezelands, we come across a Garurumon who says he won't let us pass unless we accept his challenge. Much like Greymon, this is actually a bit of a tough fight. He has a bunch of ice moves that keep stunning Zero as well as doing a ton of damage. However, thanks to the power of money and missiles, we're able to overcome this challenge. Garurumon finds this to be an unfair fight because I was helping him the entire time, so he challenges us to a rematch where only him and Zero will fight. Before heading back to the city, we have one last place to check out. To the far north is the Ice Sanctuary. Much like how the Spooky Mansion will only let you in if you have a virus Digimon as a partner, here you can only come in if you have a vaccine Digimon as a partner, otherwise a weird barrier will keep you out. However, unlike the Spooky Mansion, there's a very specific way you can walk into it to get behind the barrier. Inside the sanctuary stands a statue that apparently moves when we do, but still kind of sits there from our perspective. Anyway, when we try to leave, Zero just pushes the block underneath out of the way, opening up a staircase for us to walk down. This place is pretty much one big maze filled with icy variants of various Digimon we fought before, all of which are a bit tough. After finding some secret passages and taking the right warp crystal, we finally make it to the last room. Here, there's a bit of a mini-boss fight between a pair of Hyugamon and an Icemon. One of which thankfully runs away, because he knows he's just going to take some fish missiles to the face. Also, I find it odd that despite not being allowed to come in here without a vaccine Digimon, this place is crawling with virus and data Digimon. This fight is still a bit challenging, as both opponents have the ice version of that fireball attack that I kept stun-locking the Tyrannomon with. However, thanks to AoE attacks and Hyugamon doing a buster dive on his companion, we're able to win with another round of chest missiles. After the battle, we touch a blinding light ball and then hear a voice saying they're willing to help us. However, there appears to be no one there, so we decide to head back up. When we return, we find that the statue is actually Angemon, who offers his assistance to us, though all he really does is kind of hang out with Gigimon and offers us some advice on how to recruit certain Digimon. Finally returning to the city, we see Waymon parked outside near the meat farm. He offers us to either go to his secret beach cave or to Factorial Town. Knowing Zero is in desperate need of some machine techniques, we elect to go to Factorial Town. Once there, we pick a fight with a couple Garurumon and learn the much needed power crane move. Now Zero finally has 3 moves he can use in battle, becoming a nice, well-rounded Digimon. This may seem like a weird time to bring this up. In a game where there's many different kinds of Digimon you can raise up, some of you unfamiliar might be curious as to how you go about raising some of those Digimon. Do you devolve your partner so it can evolve into something else? Do you perhaps store him in some sort of PC farm thing so you can raise other Digimon while they're kind of hanging out with their friends? Nah, nothing like that. They just die. So yeah. Unfortunately, after a certain amount of time, your Digimon will just drop dead. And as luck would have it, it would be right after we get him his 3rd move. So I think it's only fair that we look back on some of the memories we had with Zero. So what happens now is that he'll regenerate as a Digi-Egg or Digitama. We get to keep the techniques learned, and he gets to keep a tiny % of the stats that he gained. So yeah, now comes the fun part where we have to raise our Digimon essentially from scratch. If you hadn't guessed by now, this is pretty much the make or break part of these games with some people. I don't mind it too much. In a lot of RPGs, especially these monster raising ones, once you get to a max level, you kind of plateau and there's not much you can do with them at that point. So it kind of gives me an excuse to go on another adventure with my partner. That being said, keep the Pokemon Death to Sad Stories and Nuzlocke. Don't you dare try to take my shinies from me! I decided to go with the blue striped egg so I can get some different Digimon to raise. Punimon hatches out, and I decide to keep his name as Zero. Looking to evolve it as fast as possible, I take it to the green gym and have it do a bunch of different exercises. Very quickly, it evolves into the best Digimon, Sunomon. Not long after that, it evolves into the best Digimon, Elecmon. After that, I take him out to do some fishing. He doesn't like it. We take a break and fly out to the Great Canyon area, where we walk by a very dangerous looking cliffside. And of course, it breaks. We took a bit of a fall, but we're alright. It was actually a pretty decent shortcut for the Ogremon fortress. Might be wondering why we're here if we beat Ogremon here already. Well, by his little Kotatsu spot is actually a different Digimon. Nanimon's taking up residence here, and when we talk to him, he asks us who we are. This is pretty much just a big Japanese pun that not a lot of people are going to understand. He runs off but drops a dimensional keychain which lets us carry 20 items. Very nice. I decide to take Zero out fishing again. He still doesn't like it. We head back to check the news on some goings on as well as doing a bit of training. And then, you guessed it, more fishing! However, this time we actually managed to get a pretty big bite. And by big, I mean it's a Seedramon. Fishing him up lets us choose to either be friends, learn a water technique, or get an item that'll let us evolve straight into Seedramon. The fewer times I have to fish this guy up, the better, so I just say I want to be friends. Becoming friends with him gives us the blue flute, which allows us to call him so he can take us across to Beetleland, which is where we're heading right now. As the name suggests, Beetle Island is filled with nothing but bugs. For those who dislike bugs, I cannot sympathize with you. This place is pretty cool. To the north is a bug contest that we cannot enter, because we're not a bug. However, what's more important are the 2 training gyms to the sides of it. The left gym houses a bunch of Kawagamon who want to train to beat Kabuterimon. We convince one to come to the city as it's probably a better training place for it. Another gives us a tip on how to evolve into Kunamon if we wanted to. The right gym houses a bunch of Kabuterimon. One of them wants a better training place, so we recommend the city like we did with the Kawagamon. Both these bugs improve the equipment at the green gym. Back in the city, we have Waymon take us to his secret beach cave where we find his treasure, a Misty Egg. There's supposed to be mystery egg and it's a weird typo. After this, we head to our upgraded gym and do a bunch of training. Shortly after resting up at the clinic, the angry Electmon evolves into the best Digimon, Numamon. Now, some of you are probably thinking, "Oh great, you just evolved into the worst champion, way to go!" To which I say, yes, but I have a plan for him. Those who are aware probably already know where I'm going with this. Heading to the gym, we have Zero do a bit of cleanup and training. Then we head over to the Trash Mountain where Zero can learn some techniques besides the horizontal kick. Unfortunately, most of it involves poo. And then head to the main area and see if the king can do something to help us, or if someone can hand us a different technique. When that fails, we give the hide and trash training thing a try, and oh dear lord, no! Never again! Back in the city, we pick up our treasure from Mojyamon, and then send him out on another excursion. And then, naturally, more training. Alright, now it's time for the good stuff. We make our way back to Toy Town where we found that teddy bear costume. However, this time Zero's much more malleable, so he's able to fit inside the costume, which causes Zero to evolve into the best Digimon, Monzaimon, or Monzimon, though Monzaimon makes a bit more sense because it's a reference. Anyway, now we're able to talk to Tinmon, who seems relieved that Monzaimon's back. Despite the fact that Zero isn't the same Monzaimon they know, he says that Monzaimon's the only one who can defeat Garurumon, who kidnapped his friends. I would also like to point out that the only one who can naturally evolve into Monzaimon is Numamon. So yes, the most useless champion that everyone who originally played this game hated to evolve into is mandatory to complete all the content. Though before we take him on, we head back to the city to stuff Zero full of chips and a bit of brain training, and then head over to the tropical jungle where we can try to learn a new move. And we learn that Zero's new special attack is a homing heart.
No! Wait!
Feel the power of love! And thus we learned the Electric Cloud. And now with a strong arsenal, it's time to take on the Toy Mansion. It's a short dungeon, where the gimmick is that at the end of a fight, you have to pick one of these 3 doors. Pick the right one, and you go up the stairs. Pick the wrong one, and you get hit in the head with a wash tub. Once we reach the last room, Monzaimon challenges us to figure out which box he's in. Figuring that Zero would be able to fit in the small box, I picked that. This turns out to be the correct choice, and thus we have a duel between 2 Kung Fu Thunder Bears. Beating Monzaimon makes us learn Muscle Charge, and has him drop an HP chip that he won't let us pick up, the jerk! Beating him also frees the friend, which is, Gear. Alright. The Gear turns out to be Garurumon, who starts the rest of the town running, causing the toys to tell us a story about some bad guys who tried to claim the island as their own, only to be thwarted by the Digimon of the island. This also lets us recruit the stuffed bear costume. It technically counts for the prosperity, but isn't actually a Digimon, and unlike the one in the costume house, does not evolve Numamon. In fact, the one in the costume house is no longer there. Great. Well, that's kind of okay, because a clear Agumon, in exchange for some cards, will give us the X-Bandage, which is Monzaimon's evolutionary item. Granted, I don't recommend using too many of these evolution items for reasons I'll explain in a different time. Before leaving, we head back through the Toy Mansion, as at the end of the room is another encounter with Nanimon, We don't get any for it this time, but it's more of a checkbox for later. Now it's time for some final business with the drill tunnel. Or, I guess, the ogre tunnel. One of the market managers comes out and asks us to deal with the troublemakers inside the tunnel. And as expected, it's Ogremon once again. But now it's time for the final battle. I don't think it's fair to call this a 3-on-1 because Ogremon two-shots his companions pretty quickly. After that, we stun him a few times, muscle charge, and then hit him with the power of love! This time, Ogremon just finally gives up. He says he became a bandit because he pretty much gave up on the island as it was falling apart. And now he feels like he's beyond redemption. But we just tell him to shut up and join already. Though all he really does is kind of patrol the town, about as much as Bakemon does, so, you know. Though I do wonder what's going to become of his Agumon and Gabumon gang. We're not quite done here yet, as that Mojya, who spent a long time digging, finally broke through. And boy did he break through! The Mojya says he hit something that looks like a tablet, but I don't know how he kept going when he broke through to this place. And the tablet's in a completely different room. A room that's guarded by what looks like a Saber Leomon statue. Fun fact, Saber Leomon is probably one of the first Mega Digimon ever made. Anyway, the tablet just says Leomon and a bunch of stuff we can't read, so we just take it. Because why not? After this, we continue through the tunnel and make our way to the market, as it's the first day of a new month. Which means, of course, more card buying! Yeah! So yeah, we pretty much buy as many packs as we can until we have all but 2 cards remaining. This would be a problem if I didn't have an infinite source of money, because of the chainsaws! It's time to explore the savannah a bit, where we see a Patamon being chased by a Goblimon. Before the Goblimon can do anything to the poor potato, Leomon jumps down to save the day. Afterwards, we decide to follow him to his little training spot. When we talk to him and ask him to join the city, he says he's busy looking for something that his ancestors left behind, but he doesn't know what it is. Gee, I wonder if that item we found in the Leomon ancestral cave could be what he's looking for. Oh, it is! And the tablet pretty much tells him to come join the city. Convenient! And what does this heroic Digimon do for the city? Nothing. He kinda just hangs out with the bird. Alright, I think that'll about cover it for this session.
I keep having this nagging feeling that I've forgotten something.
Hey, if you forgot it, it probably wasn't all that important.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh wait, right, the rematch! We make our way back to the Freezelands to fight Garurumon, who says he just took this time to heal a little more. For the rematch, we're not allowed to do anything for this fight. Can't make commands, can't throw items at it, nothing. This would be tough, except Garurumon's facing a muscle-charged Kung Fu Thunder Bear. After the fight, we try so hard to convince him to join the city. No, really, that's what the game says. He says he will, only after he sees the city first. It seems he meant this literally because he instantly joins. He works at the restaurant with Meramon where he brings his own set of items. Heading back to the city, since we recruited a bunch of Digimon at this point, Digimon tells us that the entrance to Mount Infinity has opened up behind the waterfall. It's made blatantly clear that this is the last dungeon of the game, and that we need to be fully prepared before we head in. However, much like Greymon from before, we have another surprise visitor. A brainwashed Airdramon swoops in and challenges us to a fight. He's actually really tough. His stats are very similar to Zero's, and he has some very strong techniques, some of which cause confusion, which really messes things up. But with a bunch of chainsaw-funded floppies and the power of love, we're able to take him down. Though it seems our love was too strong and he needs treatment in Gigimon's back room. This attempted assassination by brainwashing only gives us more determination to take on the final boss. Later though, we got some stuff to do before that. But once that's all done, the next part, it'll be time to finally finish things. Just gonna give another quick thanks for watching. This is becoming a bit easier to make than the last one was, so I guess all that self-learning has paid off, I guess. Hopefully the next one won't take another 3+ months to come out. No promises, but I'll do my best. And yes, next time, we'll be taking on the final boss of this story, after a few other things. Otherwise it'd be a very short video. I also noticed while working on this video that the view count of the first part kinda doubled. Wait, what? It wasn't even at 300 a few weeks ago. What happened? Maybe it's because of the chainsaws!